Hey everybody, this is Sexy Nerd Science, Season 2, Episode 42. Did you hear how confident I was saying that?
Very confident.
Yes. I am joined on Dale's couch by Dale and Bret. I'm in Michigan recording, that's why this podcast is coming out late. I arrived Thursday when the podcast usually comes out, and I worked throughout the week. And so now I'm here late, and we're recording the podcast, but a special episode from Dale's couch, from Dale's living room, to you guys. Sorry.
That's why it might sound funny, too, if it's...
Yeah, I hope it doesn't sound terrible. But I hope it sounds crappy, but not terrible. That's what I want for you guys. The best. The very best. Starting things off, Happy Veterans Day for those of you guys that are served. I know one of our biggest fans, Kyle, is technically a veteran, so thank you, Kyle, for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody else, for your service who we didn't mention by name, but maybe buy a hoodie and we'll talk. First things first, I just kind of want to talk about... So, sexy news. Just real quick, it's not on our script here, but elections happened, and the world is the world just doesn't know what to do right now. We can tell you that Sexy Nerd Science will continue to bring you as unbiased news as possible.
Unbiased. We did the election when it was happening like a year ago.
What?
And we clearly said our opinions then.
The election a year ago?
Yeah, the primaries.
That was our opinions for the primaries, but I'm just saying.
Unbiased.
It's unbiased.
Very unbiased.
So, I mean, in all this times of like protesting the vote and getting recounts and all this other stuff, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to deal with what is right now. And what is making sure that we make the best out of every card we're dealt with. Yes, my candidate that I wanted didn't win, but that's not a reason to hate the other candidate or anything like that. You know, I'm going to fix the system. And one of the things I was going to talk about that isn't even in the script here, but I really wanted to talk about it and give everyone's opinion. People have been questioning the fact that Hillary Clinton won the popular votes as of recording this and did not win the Electoral College and therefore made Donald Trump president by winning the Electoral College. The question has been, why do we have an Electoral College? You know, is it an outdated system? Do we really need it? I think the pros and cons for the Electoral College are still there. They are very much real. We don't want this election to be decided by a handful of cities and their opinions. We want it to be decided as the country as a whole.
So do you think the Electoral College then is a system that still works for today?
I would like, yes, the Electoral College to stay, but how we vote for things to change. And I did just see this yesterday. I believe it was Maine passed a new regulation for, it was a type of voting, a new voting system that allows you to rank your members. So if you have 3 people, you say, those 3 people, here they are, you put them in order of 1, 2, 3.
Mm-hmm.
And you make a vote based on that. And then the person with the most, one position, so all the number 1 tallies get tallied up, all the number 2 tallies get tallied up, all the number 3 tallies get tallied up, and then the winner of that goes to the winner of that is who wins.
But it just seems very it seems like, I guess my number 2 could be very far away from my number 1. So yeah, I can rank them. I can rank anything, but I feel like it's not a good enough system. You just pick one candidate or whatever, one yes or no or one whatever.
So, and that's called the plurality system, and a lot of people still like that. this is, I'm just trying to find the full name for it because they're very complicated different systems. I want to say this one's called ranking voting, or ranked choice voting. That's what it is, ranked choice voting. So you're choosing a rank first, second, or third for the 3 possible candidates that you could have voted for. And you put them categorically on the rank. So then that way, if you wanted Gary Johnson as your number 1 in this election, but you wanted Hillary Clinton as your number 2, and then not Donald Trump as your number 3. If number 1 didn't get enough votes, like if Gary Johnson didn't get enough number 1 votes, then he doesn't win, obviously. But if Hillary Clinton's tally of 1s and 2s is more than, Donald Trump's 1, 2s, and 3s, then Hillary Clinton would have still gotten that, even though people voted for Gary Johnson.
I can see that working only in one aspect, is if you don't have to vote for all 3. So I'm going to say, I'm going to give, in this scenario, Gary Johnson 3 points, Hillary Clinton 2 points, and then give Trump nothing for the math to work out in the case. So,
and there's ways of doing that. The problem is with ranked voting, and I don't want to, this is a really long topic for that, but what happens is you can technically fix elections by choosing whose number 2 candidate gets picked. So you can have everyone pick a crappy number 1 candidate who's not going to pick. But if you get enough people to just say, okay, let's at least vote number 2, then you can almost always guarantee that number 2 would be the winner in that case.
Yep.
Yeah. So it does have some problems there, which is why I wanted to kind of talk about something called range voting, which is very similar, except it's done kind of like when you take those personality assessments where it's like, I strongly disagree. I disagree. I'm neutral. I agree. I strongly agree. That range scale there. If you had, for instance, if you had 3 candidates and and the number has to be proportional, you have to do some math behind it, but there's plenty of smart people out there who can do the math. If you had 3 candidates and you had a 1 through 10 ranking system, and you said, okay, I'm going to give Gary Johnson my 10, I'm going to give Jill Stein a 6, I'm going to give Hillary Clinton a 3, and I'm going to give Donald Trump a 1. On that kind of system, then you rank how many total each person has. And that is actually a little more fair because it takes the runoff and already calculates and gives them a score.
I understand that because it gives you more of a, if you really support this candidate, then you have the more of the thing.
Correct.
I would say that the only limit is you couldn't vote for, what about multiple voting? Like, can you have 2 candidates as a 10 or 2 candidates as a 6?
So I would assume that you wouldn't be able to do that in the ranked voting for that reason, because if you had too many, if everyone just went 10s for every candidate, then you'd screw up the system. So you would only be able to designate 1 number for each candidate.
If you did 10s all around,
no, but I mean, it would
that
screw
vote
up
gets technically thrown out.
It would screw up the counting system that they have to do, because one of the tweaks of ranked choice voting is called instant runoff voting, where you vote and then the lowest ranked candidate, they eliminate his votes. So say Gary Johnson loses, Gary Johnson had the least amount of votes on the ranked system. So they would take out anyone who voted for Gary Johnson as number 1, and they would recirculate their votes and then say, okay, who was their number 2 choice? And then they would put their number 2 choice in there and re-vote again, essentially. But the person wouldn't physically have to re-vote again. Their choice would just be recalculated based off of what they put on their ballot. And then that's another way where still there's a lot of corruption with that way. There's a lot of voting scheming that you can do.
Yeah, I think the simplest way, the most fairest way, is to give one person a vote. And while it's not a perfect system, it focuses more too on the 2-party system a lot, with the third parties not even be able to get a voice half the time. I think that with technology today, as the internet, news spreading, everything being able to be able to access anybody's information, I think that you definitely need to only be able to pick one. It simplifies it. Simplifies it. Sure, simplifies it. Simplifies it to a point where it's not corruptible. It's not something that can be like altered to the few very far numbers seem to be like, oh yeah, popular vote, but when you take these numbers and into these numbers and it's this, and that's the problem with multiple polls too. If you have polls that have those types of values in it, yeah, you can find the hidden gem in any type of poll because it's not all the facts are there. So I feel like that system, while it might work in a smaller election, I don't think it would work in a presidential one. One vote, or is probably going to be the simplest. For one, a lot of people to understand, a lot of people to deem as fair.
So I think I'm going to disagree on that simply because this is an election right now where that was the case. Mm-hmm. And if you ask third-party voters, third-party voters still feel like their votes don't matter. Mm-hmm. And third-party voters are still being criticized from taking votes away from another candidate because the system is plurality-based and it's almost impossible for it to be split up into, more than two people. And the problem is, because there was more than more than two candidates that we could have possibly choose from, you're getting a popular majority of 46% to 45% of the vote. That's the problem is those numbers don't add up. Like there's still a percentage of the population that didn't want it. So now in that case, you're no longer saying majority rules in the plurality system. It's whoever gets the most votes rules, but it's never, at that point in time, you're not getting the person who is most wanted to be in that position. You're getting, at any point in time when there's more, with our current voting system, if there's more than two candidates and the votes get split, you end up with some percentage less than the majority of the United States voting for that one person. Mm-hmm. With ranged voting, with instant runoff voting, with ranked voting, all those cases give you a choice in the end that has stronger support. More people wanted that person to be elected than what is elected. And I think in this time, we are so divided, like our whole voting system is divided on Republicans, Democrats, two-party system. We force this dichotomy on people, and it's dividing people. Father against son, brother against brother. We are becoming further apart because of this, and it all starts with our voting system. Now, if we can get a voting system that's geared towards giving the best possible candidate for the greatest amount of people, that to me is what democracy is. I have all these problems with democracy, don't get me started, but if you want to say, there's some sort of utilitarianism system with democracy where we do what's best for the greater good based off the majority of people, then we need a voting system that truly represents that. And right now, this plurality system we have does not represent the majority of the people in the country.
I think the idea that you have that one candidate to stand by is a flawed system. I agree with that. I think the simplicity of it works to an extent. And I do like that, rank them 1 through 10 type of situation. I think ranking them all as 10 is still possible based on the numbers aspect of it. It wouldn't hurt or help anybody. It just kind of.
If you rank,
I don't want to say stupid, but it doesn't help the candidate that you most want.
If you rank them all 10s, you're going to get the same kind of problem we have right now, where you're forcing a dichotomy.
No, why would that be?
Because you're saying it's all or nothing.
Correct, but what's the same thing as that person not voting then? The number doesn't increase or decrease at all.
But it does. If you give them all 10s, that number increases 1 for everybody.
Yep.
Which, I guess,
percent-wise, it wouldn't matter.
That wouldn't matter in the percentage, but over the total population of the vote, I think that would matter. Or what if someone didn't, so if you went on the ballot and you just did 10, 10, 10, 10, 10 all the way down for every single candidate, you're right. That vote would be thrown out. But if you did 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 0, and one candidate didn't get your 10 vote, then you have skewed that system to the point where there could be a problem.
Isn't that showing that person does not want that candidate?
Then don't vote for any candidate. What it's showing, so if you don't want that candidate, you give them the lowest score possible. It forces people to say, okay, I don't agree with all of this person's policies, but I like this candidate better than this candidate. I need to show that. So the ranked system shows that, but the range system shows that even better, because there's not always, like by on the ranked system, there's only 1 degree of separation between your number 1 and your number 2 choice. When there's some people that are like, hey, like, I really don't like Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton, they're going to be further down on this range, but my other choice, he's going to be higher up on the range. And then that way you can give more weight to a third party or a fourth party or however many parties you want candidate, so long as you have, the problem is, I mean, if you have 100 people on the ballot, you're going to need a range in the thousands to be able to make this directly proportional. So then people are going to be voting like, oh, I'm going to give this person 996. I'm going to give this person. So I think there would need to be some better primary system or a runoff system to get you to, the top 4 candidates or the top 10 candidates. And then if it was the top 10 candidates and you did 1,000 or 100 possible choices on a score from 1 to 100 for each candidate, and you couldn't repeat the numbers, you would have a more fair system to elect a majority vote for who should be president. Now, that majority vote would go towards your electoral college, and your electoral college, I think, should be required to vote with how the population in that district votes. And if that's the case, and I think if we did things like how Massachusetts and Nebraska does, and we give our House of Representatives free choice to split their districts up, but give the Senate, whoever wins the state gets the Senate votes. Nebraska has 5 electoral votes. Each house or each representative, we have each district in Nebraska, 3 districts, can be split up between whoever wins the district. And then our Senate vote goes towards whoever wins the state as a whole. So in this election, 4 votes went for Donald Trump, 1 went to Hillary Clinton from Nebraska. And that is a more representative system as well. If the rest of the country kind of followed suit with something like that, we would see, in this election, truth of the matter is, over 50% of the people in the United States didn't want Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton to be president. Over 50% of the country. I mean, no matter which way you slice it right now. I mean, right now there's Donald Trump won.
I don't think that's a true statistic. Even if just because they didn't go out doesn't mean they want either one.
No, but okay, fine. Of the people that voted, just the people that voted, over 50% did not want Donald Trump to be president. They either wanted Hillary Clinton or some other choice. And then over 50% didn't want Hillary Clinton to be president because they either voted Donald Trump or some other choice. And that's not the majority. That means there is a majority of people in Nebraska or in the state or in the country that don't want our current president. And that was the same thing even with Barack Obama.
But any president, there are so many things where you have to choose, and then unfortunately we have to choose the one candidate, the best of 2 evils type of situation. And so how do you go from a situation where, only one candidate that has enough money to run is that candidate to get into the spotlight in order to be on TV, in order to become in the debates, spread their position, and then, narrow it down to choosing, if you do with the 1 through 10 system, choosing a few different candidates, you're still ultimately not choosing who you want.
I think we've shown in this election that money is not a factor. Bernie Sanders almost won.
Most money won.
No, false. False. So Jeb Bush spent more money on his campaign than any other person in this election season. Jeb Bush spent more money on his campaign. He was one of the richest candidates to do so. Spent more money, was one of the first people eliminated from the Republican race. Bernie Sanders didn't use hardly any of his own money, instead took personal donations, had very little money, and made it very far into the Democratic primary. Donald Trump, again, didn't use a lot of donation money for it, used his own money, personally financed his campaign, but didn't spend a whole lot of money personally financed. He didn't even put out ads until the last couple of weeks. It was, paid for by Donald Trump in the end, but the money in this election is not as big of a factor as people think it is. And granted, I do want money out of politics because money does influence smaller elections, like the congressional races, like mayoral races, like, Senate, obviously. Like, tinier groups, money does play a huge factor.
I think because the presidential one is in a spotlight, it might not pay as much.
So in the presidential race, I don't think money's been a big factor in a while.
Mm.
So I don't think that, the primary system, if we would have had, on our ballots right now, 2 Democratic candidates, 2 Republican candidates, a Green Party and a Libertarian Party, I think you could have represented, I think the majority of the country could have gotten behind one of those candidates.
And we've had that. I had the option to vote for 6 different people.
You had the option to vote for 1 Democrat, 1 Republican, 1 Libertarian, 1 Green Party, and a lot of the Democrats didn't think that their Democratic choice was the one that should have been on that ticket. A lot of the Republicans didn't think their Republican choice should have been on that ticket.
That's the thing, though, is because of the primary, while, that system was, we can, spend a whole episode on that in itself, is initially, that's, you don't need to choose for multiple of the choice because you already did that in February or whenever we voted before.
Right.
So if that system was fixed to be, to vote for the, let's say the popular vote for Hillary at the time or Bernie or whoever for Democratic, then if we vote popular and the popular person does win and moves up instead of the super PACs, instead of the the super delegates and the everything else, then that would ultimately choose your Democrat.
So what about if what if we could create this system now? We could say, hey, we could have 10 candidates, and those 10 candidates would be based off of a primary system where we do a popular vote from the entire country of what 10 candidates we want on the ballot.
Okay.
So the entire country votes on that. That's not what they do.
Yeah, they have 5
we do
from
a primary
Democratic
election.
5 from Republican.
We do a primary. We had 2 Democratic candidates this election.
We had a few on ours.
But what they do is they say, we need to limit this down to 1 representative for the Democratic Party, 1 representative from the Republican Party, 1 representative from the Green one, and they have these conventions to make 1 candidate their representative.
Correct.
When they don't need to with this ranged system. So the primary system would change entirely because of the new presidential voting system, because it doesn't have to be that kind of dichotomy. Because it is. We are forced into this false dichotomy of either Republican or Democrat every 4 years. We have been since the 1800s. We tried it with the Republican Party and the Bull Moose Party in 1912 with similar results to this current election. It's not a good idea. It's the problem with how we vote. That needs to be changed. It needs to be able to reflect the majority vote. And I think that would help lessen the divide that we have as Americans right now. Because you go on Facebook, you go on the internet, there are people protesting in the streets. There are people beating up other people. There's a lot of difference. I even saw someone's post today with an us or them mentality. And I'm like, why does it have to be us or them? Like, you're accusing one group of people of grouping all of you into one group, but then you turn around and group those group of people back into one group. You can't have that mentality. It is all us. It has always been us, the U.S. Vote for Josh 2024. Just kidding. I won't do nothing.
I was going to say, the next election is 2020, and then the one after that is 2024. So, assuming that this president doesn't get 8 years, it's a lot of math there that's flawed.
Let's move on.
Yeah. Bret, do you want to say anything
about politics? Who'd you vote for, Bret? No, just kidding.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
Don't tell us.
Okay.
Sorry, Bret's not talking too much. I just went on a tirade there, but I'm sure he'll talk about this next topic, which is touching Dills.
Touching my
junk here.
We could go for days about that topic.
Yes. Okay. So this is something that I wish Drew was on the podcast for today. Young Justice just got renewed for a 3rd season. That I believe is going to be coming to Netflix, not even on TV.
If you have not seen Young Justice is the Justice League, but the secondary characters, or even like the children characters. So like in the show, I believe it's the girl Green Martian Robin, I think the second tier Robin was in there.
So you get both in Young. So first season of Young Justice had Dick Grayson, and then after Dick Grayson becomes Nightwing in season 2,
and then you got the girl or the guy from the underwater Atlantis. There's a few. I think Beast Boy was another guy.
Beast Boy was
a bunch of different characters that are from it, and they come together and they play. And it was since Justice League came off the air, Justice League Unlimited came off the air from WB. They did Young Justice, and that's a big hit for at least how many seasons? 2 seasons. And you said the third one's coming out now.
Yeah, so the third. Yeah, it was a really big hit. And people that watched it, there was a death in the end of the second season that really hit people hard, and they just kind of left it.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was nothing to resolve from it in the end, and there needs to be something more. And I definitely think that a season 3 and probably a season 4 would be very welcomed by everybody.
Yeah, I think so.
Especially with what's going on the TV universe.
Yeah.
As far as DC's concerned.
I think that's why they probably stayed away for as long as they did, because that took off as a thing.
Yeah, I mean, Young Justice has always been more geared towards kids, but there is some more adult themes in it. I think it was on NX, Disney, or not Disney, Cartoon Network, but like it was Nickelodeon, right? I think NX. Who does?
You
NX?
named them all. So
yeah, what TV program was the NX?
I thought it was on the Saturday morning one. The
WB?
Channel 4. Yeah, WB.
I don't think it was a WB show. It might have been like repeats on WB.
I mean, what about the CW?
I don't think it was on the
CW. Was it on the CW? Because that's taken off again. Cartoon Network? Right? Could be.
I thought it was, I think it might have been one of those, but it was on the more teen.
It was on one of the channels on the TV.
But it was geared for more adult themes and teens and stuff like that too. So, I can't remember. I don't think there was a Cyborg in it. I'm trying to think if I can.
Cyborg was in it, but he's a normal character. He was actually a person of Justice League.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't think he was. Was he in the Justice League in Young Justice?
Yeah. I got a poster. I got 2 posters in my room.
I know he's in the Justice League, but was he in the Justice League in Young Justice?
Because he had the boom tube built inside of him.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, so Young Justice season 3 coming back. I'm really excited. Probably going to have to rewatch Young Justice again because it was fantastic.
No information other than that, besides like.
Yeah, I haven't even heard direct or anything like that when it's going to be released. Doctor Strange, we all saw, with the exception of Bret, who's probably going to go see it sometime soon.
I saw it twice.
I'll be seeing that soon.
So Dale will have enough information to tell Bret. Without spoiling anything, I thought that Doctor Strange was a visually appealing movie.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I thought that the plot was just fine. It carried pretty well. I wasn't bored in it. I think Benedict Cumberbatch plays an excellent character.
Yep.
His co-stars were also very good. Trying to think if there's anything else. I'm trying to not spoil it for anybody.
I thought everything, like you're saying, is perfect. I thought all the actors and actresses played perfectly. They took on their role. It was a more serious film, and what I mean by that is there's not a lot of comedy in it.
Really?
There was a few parts that
I was going to say the opposite.
No, I didn't think it was that.
I felt like there was a lot of forced comedy to it.
I mean, I can think of maybe 2, 3 things that were comedic.
Really?
And as far as compare that to Iron Man, who has that mentality of everything's a joke, and it's always funny, or compare it to the Avengers. I mean, at the end of the show, they were eating at a shawarma. I mean, that in itself was hilarious. So I mean, you go from that to this. I think it was less comedic as a sense.
Yeah.
Well, it still had a funny part.
Yeah, I mean, it's less comedic than Guardians of the Galaxy for sure.
Definitely. No dance-offs.
But I think probably not quite as serious as Thor: The Dark World, which I don't think had a lot of comedy to it. I don't think I also don't think Iron Man 2 had a lot of comedy to it, or even Iron Man 3.
Iron Man 3, I think they tried to go a different sense with that one. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I think that it was, I mean, even so, Captain America was a little less campy. I liked it. I thought there was
Captain America was hilarious. The Civil War.
Civil War, yeah.
Hilarious.
I meant
Did you
like
see that
Captain
one?
America, like
Yeah.
the first soldier, or the
Winter Soldier.
no, the first one. The I can't remember what the first title of that was. The Man in the Ice.
Yeah.
No,
I don't know what it's called.
that's X-Men.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, that was good. We also just here the other day saw, just because we're talking about movies, Hacksaw Ridge. That was fantastic. Talking about other actors that have been in nerdy movies before. Old Spider-Man. Well, second Spider-Man. That's so weird to think about. There's already a third one.
Yeah.
But
just I think the actor, the one who played in Hacksaw Ridge, we're trying to look up his name right now. I think he played fantastic as the new Spider-Man. I don't know why they went to a different route besides ownership of the theater or the movies.
Why aren't you just looking up Hacksaw Ridge?
Because I wanted to look up this, and I probably should have done that. Go. I already got it.
Okay.
Already got it. Here it is.
Yeah.
I don't see it. Andrew Garfield.
Yes, Andrew Garfield. Wait, who's the girl? Because I want to know where she was from.
Her name is Teresa Palmer.
Oh, she is. Because I thought that the lead actress in the film was also very good as well. I just can't remember what I know her from.
I Am 4.
Sorcerer's
Apprentice, yeah.
Maybe that's what she was in. Warm Bodies. Oh, yeah, Warm Bodies. That's what she played, the love interest in Warm Bodies,
That was
too.
a good show, too.
That was. I wish they make a sequel of that.
You really can't at that point.
Yeah.
Everyone was Saul. Everything was getting fixed. But they were living together.
Now.
Shut up. I thought they shouldn't have, recast a new one. I think I can't remember the actor's name for that one. I'm not gonna look it up either.
For the new
Spider-Man? I thought it was fine. He's fine.
So Andrew Garfield had some problems with the director. I remember hearing there were problems with that. There was kind of just some writing problems with that as well. And then once Sony and Marvel kind of settled their differences as far as Spider-Man was concerned, they kind of had to recast. So I mean, it's. I'm gonna suspend judgment on who's better until I get the new Spider-Man when it comes out.
I don't think they should do another fucking Spider-Man. That's my opinion. You had a full, what was it, Tobey
Maguire had 3 movies.
You had the 3 movies, which was more dark, but it was fine. It was the same time period as the Dark Knight, so that people wanted that at the time.
What?
Fucking hated the Dark Knight.
What?
Yeah,
no, not the Dark Knight. You thought
I thought Tobey Maguire
the one emo episode 3 or movie 3, was dark. But the other 2 you thought were dark?
I don't think they were dark, but I mean, like, they were more of a dark way, direction.
What? I didn't see that.
Really?
Yeah. They were about as dark as X-Men 1 and 2 were.
No, I don't see that.
So your time frames are a little off as well, because those movies came out right along the time X-Men came out.
Oh, whatever. I don't care. Whatever.
The Christopher Nolan Batman series didn't come out until almost after the 3rd movie of Spider-Man came out.
I can tell you with 100% certainty, I thought all 3 of the Dark Knight movies were terrible.
Good.
Terrible.
But so Hacksaw Ridge, great. Doctor Strange, also great. I wish I could say more about it, but Bret hasn't seen it.
I want to say one thing about Doctor Strange real quick.
Yeah, my bad.
Yes.
Yeah. You should have known 15 minutes prior to knowing you're going to be on this.
Right. I should have.
I thought at the end of Doctor Strange, when they did the first extra cut scene, they what they talked about during that time frame and was a little confusing. And I looked into it. It makes sense once you watch or once you know about the trailer and everything for Thor Ragnarok. Once you know the storyline and how it's going to start out, that makes more sense to what he said, because what he said should have been the backwards, but then once you realize Ragnarok, then it's the correct way. And we can talk about that after the fact.
I wanna rock, Ragnarok.
But the last thing on our, not second to last thing, I guess, two last things.
Yeah.
Was Josh's trip to Michigan and the Tesla.
Yes.
Without going into too much detail about every aspect of the vehicle as we have the past 24 hours.
I just want to say, for long trips, it's completely doable.
With the superchargers.
With the superchargers, it's completely doable. I put up the twin size mattress we currently had to move here because I'm sleeping on it in Dale's house. But I put the twin size mattress up in the trunk. Pictures of that will be coming when I leave on Sunday, hopefully.
It's supposed to write to the website or Facebook.
I know.
Easy.
But they are, I have kind of I did recordings every once in a while I was parked at each station on my way here.
And then
I'm gonna send more on my way back, just to kind of talk about it. It was nice to be able to pull off on the supercharger I drove for about 2 hours or so, parked for 20 minutes, drove another 2 hours, parked for another 20 minutes. Really nice to kind of have those breaks. And then the longer breaks where I had to drive for 2.5 hours, I would park for an hour and sleep in the car.
And most people don't realize that they do that anyway. I mean, you drive for 2-3 hours, and then you either gotta gas up, you want to take a pee break or something, or you're hungry.
Yeah.
So long trips like that, you're stopping anyway. You're killing two birds with one stone here, and you're not spending any money on gas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just packed a bunch of food and had food in the car. I didn't have to stop for food. I didn't have to stop for pee breaks. I didn't have to stop for anything other than just charging. I didn't. I left Nebraska at 8 p.m. Left Nebraska, arrived in Michigan at around 7 p.m. the next day, which would have been...
It was 22 hours.
Yeah. It took me a while to drive, but that's also because I had a really comfortable bed, and I kept oversleeping in the car.
Were you plugged in when you were oversleeping?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I plugged into a supercharger in Iowa City and overslept for about 6 hours when I only needed to be there for about an hour.
I would say the one thing that I would change with a Tesla would be the size. I think the Model S is a little small. I think the back seats, your knees are more up, and that's for any tiny or smaller car. Yeah, I'm big, but who cares? I am like the average size of the average American.
This is a pretty big couch, but with all three of us on it, it's pretty tight.
Shut up.
I'm just saying.
I think it could have been a little bit bigger. I think the Model X is probably just fine.
The Model X is the same size car.
No, it's not. It's an SUV.
It is the same size car.
That's like the Focus and the Escape are technically the same frame. They just raised it up.
Yeah.
That's fine. It's elevated in a direction. That's what I need. I need just a little bit more legroom.
So Dale's going to buy a Model X.
No, that's not what I said.
He's going to review it for us.
That is not what I said.
And let us know.
But I think that also that there being a car that is all battery powered, no 110 outlet.
What do you mean no 110 outlet?
No 110 outlet in the car.
Oh,
I would like that. I think there's a lot of vehicles that are going towards that. My 2014 Escape had it, and then other vehicles for Ford has it. I know BMWs have that option for more of the bigger cars.
I believe the Model X actually does have a 110 outlet.
So I just think like as a vehicle that you want to utilize power, you have obviously I think you have USB in there.
Yep, two USBs and
the normal plugs for the power. It's just funny that the power is getting there through AC, like you said yesterday.
Yeah.
It's turning into DC into the vehicle, and then to charge your different devices or your laptop, whatever you want to plug in, you have to turn it back into AC.
Yeah.
It's just a system that could be...
We turn DC power from a battery, or no, we turn AC power from the wall into DC power for the battery into AC power to turn the motor, and then we turn the DC power for the battery back. We need an AC inverter to put it back into AC power to be able to then plug in the 120 lines on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I think that would have been nice. My tablet charges using the car charging thing. My phone's charged with that. That's all I brought with me on the trip, so I didn't really need anything else. Yay for unlimited data. I don't know what I'd do without that. But yeah, overall, trip was fantastic. I would do it again. I would do it. I actually would want to try to maybe do a cross-country trip one of these times, take a whole week off and see how far we could get and sleep in the car and not have to worry about anything like that. Very warm when I have the heat on, very cool when I have the AC on.
I think that's a reason why I couldn't go with you. Our body temperatures are so different.
Yeah, and I don't want to sleep on a twin-size single mattress with Dale.
Why not?
Okay, get a aftermarket trailer hitch. I know they make them.
Yep.
Because I was part of that team.
And then just tow around a little trailer.
Tow around a little trailer, and then I'll sleep in that.
There's people that do that.
Yeah.
I would lose fuel economy though. I don't know how long that would.
You don't have fuel, so you're fine.
I don't know how that would work with my 60 kilowatt battery. But yes, great drive. Love being in Michigan. We've done a lot of fun things here. More stories to come.
Yep.
Next week. Bought some things that I probably shouldn't have bought, but yeah. Moving on to our Sexy Nerd of the Month,
which we didn't know about last week.
Well, we knew about it last week, but we just didn't talk about it.
We know there was one of two different teams.
Last week?
Yeah.
No, it was the week before.
Fuck, bitch. You talk about the Cubs last week?
No. But last week we didn't talk about any Sexy Nerds of the Month.
What we talked about was either the Cubs or the Indians. We were going to wait to see who won.
Last week? Really?
Yeah. Because it was only a week and a half ago because we're recording this on Saturday.
Okay, then.
Yeah,
so
today's the 12th.
Congratulations, Cubs, on being world champions.
I got a little spiel here that I'm just going to read. It's on the website as well. This month's Sexy Nerd of the Month is Chicago Cubs for winning the 2016 World Series of Major League Baseball. The Chicago Cubs is an older team and has been around since 1876. They have played in Chicago at the famous Wrigley Field since 1916, and their last World Series win was 1908. So that means 108 years since they last won. The Cubs have believed to have a curse and did not allow them to win, but over the popularity has grown with the Cubs over the past few years since they've been doing better, and that mixed with the obviously good team, they finally broke the curse on November 2nd. We would like to honor the Cubs with this month's Sexy Nerd of the Month because of their commitment to baseball over these years. And that's where we're at.
And my girlfriend had a huge problem with us doing this because she's like, oh, sports. Like, why are you talking about sports? Like, why not make the Sexy Nerds? She's like, I don't understand how they're nerds, And I think people really underestimate the fact that, like, to be a professional athlete, you are a nerd. Mm. You might not spend, just as much as I would consider a StarCraft gamer a professional athlete, I would, on top of that, turn that around and say that, yes, I would say an athlete is a nerd, in the sense that they do good work, they do hard work, they do repetitive work, they turn what they do for a profession into a hobby or go beyond the hobby, and
if you're taking the time out of your free time in order to do something, in my opinion, that's being a nerd for whatever that thing is. Yeah. And yeah, they made a career out of it, but isn't that ultimately what anybody really wants to do? Is
do what they love.
Do what they love, and it won't work. So it's essentially they are nerds in their own respect, but I think that everyone's been excited about them, but that doesn't diminish what they did. I think they still earned. They worked hard and they earned what they got, and good for them.
For sure.
Also, Back to the Future was 1 year off from calling it.
Ah, gotcha. I didn't see that.
Yeah. Way to go, Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Way to be wrong.
Yep.
Wrong about that, and then wrong about lots of things.
Yep.
Can I just say that 2016 has been so weird? Like, so many underdogs overcoming the odds to win great things.
Yes.
You know what? congratulations, Donald Trump, for coming from behind and winning the presidential election, too. I don't think we had to sacrifice nearly as many people as the Chicago Cubs did to win. I'm calling it right now. Bill Murray is going to be dead by the end of 2016. Just saying. They had to sell his soul so to win. Sorry, Bill Murray. I love you, but just, keep a watchful eye out for death. Start looking for the Deathly Hollows, please.
So,
last week's question of the week.
Yep.
Would you buy a new solar roof? I don't think I remember seeing anything on there.
No,
from
tell Bret to his opinion.
Bret, okay. So, yeah. Tesla merged with Solar City and launched their solar roof project for their houses. So you can buy not only a battery power wall in your house to store your solar powered energy, but now they're manufacturing rooftop tiles that are stronger, more resilient, and also capture sunlight energy to power your home.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's something that they think that if they do, it would be a lot better, and they could basically make solar powered roofs a new thing for around the same cost as it costs to do a normal roof. So is that something that you would ever consider putting on a house of yours? I mean,
I would think so, but I would have to see how much energy I would actually be saving.
And the big cost of that is the battery, the infrastructure, the inverter.
Also, if there was any shade, you wouldn't want to put it in it wouldn't make sense to put it up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I probably would, but I'd have to do more research on it for sure.
Yeah,
I agree. I think with my house, I would say majority of my roof. Probably, I have a pretty square house or rectangular size house, and the front, if not most of the one side, gets a good amount of sun all year round. But part of the back, and I would say maybe the right side doesn't as much, because this morning we had frost on everything, and there was still frost when I came in, even an hour and a half ago, on the ground over here. So that's showing me that there's not a lot of sun over there. So why even if the angle is so small, it's not going to get me anything. So it would have to be only on this side. And I think you talked about that there's tiles that aren't solar panels, but made to look like solar panels, or made to look
the same.
The same, so they still function, or they're still you're paying less money, and then they look the same.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think more people would want to know the cost and the effect for it, and I think that's good. That's what we want.
Yes.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, if you want to. Do you have anything else?
This week's question of the week has to say, what non-traditional nerd topic are you a nerd for? I would say I'm a big philosophy nerd, and a lot of people don't take philosophy seriously, but I'm a pretty big nerd for it, and I enjoy that. So let's hear your opinions, guys, on this special live Sunday edition podcast that'll be launching Sunday. Or Saturday, or wait, what's that? Saturday.
Saturday.
Go Blue.
Oh yeah.
Yes, go Blue.
Michigan game tonight. Hopefully they win.
Yes, so that'll be nice, and I think that's gonna do it for this week. I know we didn't have Bret talk too much, but that's just the nature of Bret.
Yeah.
But thank you, Bret, for joining us. Thank you, Dale, for letting us.
It was a pleasure being on with both of you.
Letting us use your couch and letting me use your floor to sleep on this weekend. We appreciate everyone at SexyNerdScience, especially our veterans. Kyle, I just got your message about the Electoral College. We'll post a video on that as well, because one of our viewers asked us to talk more about the Electoral College, and I think that might be something we need to do. Our good friend Philip DeFranco has a really good video on the Electoral College that Dale will gladly and graciously post up later. So you guys have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch you next week. Goodbye.